At that moment, at that exact moment, there were two planes in the sky. One was a military contract aircraft, flying right above the campus, much lower than normal. The other one took off exactly 1 hour and 20 minutes after the bullet was fired, and then it disappeared from radar. Coincidence? Let's rewind. September 10th, 2025, midday. Charlie Kirk takes the stage at Utah Valley University's campus. The sun is high, the crowd is excited, cameras are rolling, and then a single bullet. But now I'm going to tell you the part nobody's talking about. Candace Owens doesn't think so, and today I'm going to show you what she found. But I'm warning you, by the end of this story, you might think nothing was a coincidence, or maybe the complete opposite. The choice is yours. Let's begin. Candace Owens' team is reviewing flight records, and they notice something strange. A plane with tail number N1098L takes off from Texas that morning, 9:15 a.m. Destination, Utah. Looks like a normal flight, until it approaches Utah. The plane suddenly starts descending, much lower than normal, right above Utah Valley University campus. And at that exact moment, Charlie Kirk is speaking on stage. At 12:23, the shot rings out. The plane is still there, in the sky, circling low. Then, it turns back to Texas. Candace tells her team, research this plane. Who owns it? Where is it going? Why was it there? The answer comes back, LAI Aviation LLC, a company that does military contracts. Wait, military contracts? Yes. This plane is used for special operations for the military. Candace sits in front of the screen and says, I've been saying this since day one. This was a military operation, and now I have the proof. But I paused. Because is a plane being there enough to connect it to the assassination? Maybe it was a tourist flight. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe the pilot had no idea. But then Candace says something else. I asked Kash Patel, the FBI director, who chartered this plane. No answer. No answer at all. And that's where the questions begin. Because if it's an innocent flight, why aren't you explaining it? The first plane was suspicious, but the second plane, even stranger. Bombardier Challenger 300, private jet, luxury, worth millions of dollars. Owner, Derek Maxfield and his wife, Shalane Maxfield. Who are they? They sold a beauty company for $1 billion. They live in Utah, rich, very rich. And on September 10th, 2025, at 1:43 p.m., their plane takes off. Charlie Kirk was shot at 12:23, so exactly 1 hour and 20 minutes later, the plane takes off from Utah. Destination? Page, Arizona. But then something happens. The transponder shuts off. What's a transponder? The device that makes planes visible on radar. The thing all commercial and private planes are required to keep on. And this plane's transponder shuts off mid-flight. Candace tells her team, track this plane. Where did it go? The team investigates, but the trail goes cold because the transponder is off. Then Derek Maxfield posts a statement on Instagram, responding to conspiracy theorists. Our plane was a routine flight. We shut off the transponder by agreement with air traffic control. It's legal. Candace reads this and laughs, but it's a bitter laugh. Because then Kash Patel also makes a statement. That plane's transponder was never turned off. Wait, Derek Maxfield, we turned off the transponder. Kash Patel, the transponder was never turned off. They're both talking about the same plane, but telling two different stories. And this is where it gets important. One of them is definitely lying, either Derek Maxfield or Kash Patel, or both are lying, and the truth is somewhere else entirely. Candace asks, so which is true? And why aren't they answering? But the story gets even deeper. Candace's team reviews the flight plan, and they notice something else. The Bombardier Challenger 300 was supposed to land at an FBO private terminal called Millionaire in Page, Arizona. That was the plan. That's what the records say. But at the last minute, the plan changes. The plane lands at a different FBO called Signature instead of Millionaire. Why? Candace's team calls Signature FBO. Hello, did Derek Maxfield's plane land with you on September 10th? FBO employee. Yes, that plane has come several times in the last few days. Team, are you sure? FBO. Employee. Yes, there's a record. An hour later, the same team calls again to ask more questions. But this time the same employee says something different. What are you talking about? No such plane ever came here. It's not in the records. Candace looks at the screen and says, someone called this guy. Someone told him, shut your mouth. And then she adds, federal agents are guarding FBO information. They're even guarding Dairy Queens. What's going on? What comes to my mind, maybe the guy genuinely forgot or genuinely looked at the records wrong. But giving two different answers, and the second answer being never came, very strange. Because if he was remembering wrong, he'd say, I don't think so, I'm not sure. But he says, never came, a clear denial. This happens either from fear or from instruction. Now let's look at another character in the story, Josh Hammer. Who is Josh Hammer? A right-wing writer, commentator, Zionist, and describes himself as Charlie Kirk's close friend. September 10th, 2025, morning. Trump posts a tweet, public executions would be a good deterrent for drug dealers. Josh Hammer quotes it and writes, based, you're right, King. So Josh Hammer says in the morning, public executions are good. That afternoon at 12:23, Charlie Kirk suffers a public execution. Millions watch live. Candace notices this and asks, isn't this strange? Josh Hammer gets angry, writes a long tweet. A deeply unwell lunatic, a Candace Owens, is claiming I had foreknowledge. But Candace didn't say that. She just said, strange coincidence. Josh continues, Charlie called me that day. He wanted debate tactics about Israel. I helped him. It was a great conversation. Then he shares his messages with Charlie as proof. The messages go like this, Charlie. Thank you for your help, guys. Josh. Good luck at the campus visit. What's your first stop tomorrow, by the way? Candace reads these messages and stops. Wait, Josh doesn't know where Charlie's going? Because Josh's story was, Charlie called me, wanted tactics for the Israel debate. I helped him. I knew he was speaking on campus tomorrow. But in the message, he asks, what's your first stop? If Josh gave Charlie debate tactics, wouldn't he know where he was debating? This doesn't make sense. And then Candace notices something else. In all of Josh Hammer's statements, at least 3 times, he promoted his own book. Charlie really loved my book in our last conversation. I explain these things in my book. I signed and sent my book. Your friend died. And you're selling books. Candace looks and says, Josh Hammer is a liar, and he's using Charlie's death for his own interests. But Josh Hammer's biggest lie is something else, remember? Candace leaked the messages Charlie Kirk sent to his donors. The Jewish donors are playing into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this. They're leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Charlie Kirk wrote this, verbatim. 24 to 36 hours before his death, Josh Hammer's explanation. Charlie was just angry, blowing off steam. He didn't really mean it. He was joking. Really? A man writes that he's leaving a position that constitutes his life's work. And this is joking? Candace asks, Josh, when you're angry, do you write, I'm quitting my job? Josh doesn't answer, because he can't. Charlie was clear in that message, explicit and determined. They're leaving me no choice, he says. This is a decision, a final point. And then he's killed the next day. I think there are 2 possibilities here. 1, Charlie really decided to leave the pro-Israel cause, and that decision made him a target. 2, Charlie was just angry, but his death has nothing to do with this message. Josh Hammer defends the second option because the first option damages the Israel lobby. But Candace shows another piece of evidence. After that message, Charlie was considering inviting Candace Owens to his next event. Tucker Carlson was already a speaker. Candace and Tucker, both Israel critics. If Charlie was really joking, why is he planning to change his organization? Answer: because Josh Hammer is lying. Josh Hammer has another tactic, playing the Jew hatred card. In his tweet he says, Charlie was passionate about fighting Jew hatred. He never abandoned that. This is true. Charlie was indeed against anti-Semitism, but Josh tries to show it like this: Charlie wasn't against Jews, therefore he couldn't be against Israel. This is a logical fallacy. Israel's a state, Jews are a people. I can criticize the Chinese government, that doesn't mean I'm an enemy of Chinese people. I can criticize the U.S. government, that doesn't mean I'm an enemy of Americans. The same applies to Israel. But Josh conflates this, because that's his goal. The easiest way to silence criticism of Israel: stamp it as anti-Semitism. Candace knows this and says, Josh, I'm criticizing the Israeli government, not Jews. Can't you understand the difference? Josh doesn't answer, because he can't. Because his goal isn't to debate, it's to silence. Here comes Candace's most powerful point. She looks at the camera and says, when JFK was killed in 1963, people didn't watch it on TikTok. They read it in newspapers. They heard it on the news. And whatever the FBI said, they believed it. But it's 2025, and we watched Charlie Kirk's death live. The whole world saw it, when the bullet rang out, when Charlie fell to the ground, when the blood flowed. We all saw it. And now you come and tell us, be respectful, don't ask questions? No, Candace continues, you wanted this. You made this public. You did it to scare us. But instead of being scared, we got angry. And this is a very powerful point, because this generation isn't the JFK generation. We grew up on the internet. We know how to find information. We're seeing the genocide in Gaza in 4K videos on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. We know the Epstein files with documents, with names. We saw Charlie Kirk's death live without any filter, and we're not staying silent anymore because you've shown us too much to keep us silent. Now let's get to the main question. Was Charlie Kirk's death a military operation? Candace's evidence: one military contract aircraft, N1098L, above campus during assassination. 2 Bombardier aircraft shut off its transponder. 3 Kash Patel and Derek Maxfield made contradictory statements. 4 FBO employee gave 2 different answers. 5 FBI isn't answering any questions. Candace says, I've been saying this since day one. This was a military operation. The more you peel back the onion, the more obvious it becomes. My assessment: Candace's investigation is brave, important, and the asking questions that need to be asked, but to say, definitely a military operation, requires more evidence. What do we have? Strange flight routes, unexplained transponder shutdown, contradictory official statements, FBI's silence. But what don't we have? Connection between military and Tyler Robinson, orders in military chain of command, proof of operation plan. Tyler Robinson, 22 years old. His rifle had anti-fascist slogans. Official story: lone wolf, radical leftist activist. Maybe this is true. Maybe Tyler really acted alone. But maybe someone directed him. I'm focusing more on the George Zinn story. Tyler's psychiatrist, and he has CIA connections. Because we remember MK Ultra, the CIA's mind control programs. But that's another story. So what's the conclusion? Candace needs more evidence to say military operation. But the FBI's silence creates suspicion. If these are innocent explanations, why aren't they sharing them? They could have given simple answers. The plane was touristic. The transponder had a technical malfunction. The FBO employee is remembering wrong, but they're silent. And this silence makes you think Candace might be right. 2 planes, 1 assassination, and countless unanswered questions. Charlie Kirk was killed on September 10th, 2025. But the story didn't end there. Candace Owens is digging, Josh Hammer is lying, the FBI is silent, and we're watching. I can't give you definitive answers, because there aren't any. But I can give you the questions. Who chartered the N1098L plane? Why was it there? Why did the Bombardier's transponder shut off? Is Kash Patel lying or Derek Maxfield? Why did the FBO employee first say yes, then say no? Why is Josh Hammer lying so much? When Charlie said, "They're going to kill me," who was he referring to? These questions have answers. But the FBI isn't sharing. And we won't stay silent, because Charlie Kirk was sacrificed in a public execution. Millions watched, we were traumatized, and now we want the truth. Josh Hammer can sell books, Kash Patel can say transparency, Derek Maxfield can say conspiracy theory. But we know something is being hidden. This isn't just a video, this is an investigation, and you can be part of this investigation. Subscribe to Kirk Unfiltered, because here, no question is taboo, no power can silence us. The truth, no matter how dark, will come to light. Let's talk in the comments. Is Candace right? Is this a military operation? Do you trust Josh Hammer? Are the planes coincidence or part of a plan? Like, share, subscribe. Because this is a movement, and in this movement, those who stay silent lose. The story continues, and we're on it. We know this story has another side, and sooner or later, the truth will come out.